Hey everybody, Josh Sheridan here with the Barely Legal Podcast.
They demand my alter ego, but I won't go.
On this morning show, we have Tyler Coy, who is a local musician, artist, and a bunch of other things that we'll get into. He's been a member of a number of bands. His most recent or current band is Pandapaws, which you can find on most streaming platforms. Interesting gentleman who I've recently met through social media. Thank you so much for stopping by today.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Now, I understand you're not a Florida guy originally, right? You came here from where?
New Jersey. I was born here, but I really spent most of my time in New Jersey.
Rural New Jersey or Housewives of New Jersey, New Jersey?
Definitely. I had more Housewives.
Or Sopranos, New Jersey, or Bruce Springsteen, New Jersey. Which New Jersey are you from?
I'm going to go, we'll do Sopranos. Sopranos feels the most, since they mentioned my town in an episode, Metuchen is where I'm from, yeah.
Metuchen?
Central North, kind of near Woodbridge. And
sounds like an Indian. Is there a history to that? Is it?
There is, but I'm sad and I don't know it.
Okay,
but
that's all
I
right.
know that's where it comes from.
All
yeah.
right. How old were you when you moved from there?
Like 20.
Oh, okay. So a good chunk of your life was there.
Yeah.
Siblings?
No, only child.
Really?
Only child.
Welcome. So am I. We can get into that. What did your parents do?
My mom is she was involved with theater a lot her whole life. So in the beginning it was like performing and then producing, and we owned a theater when we were up in New Jersey, and so she kind of was an admin role and a lot of fundraising and and then fundraising was a big thing. She moved to different theaters and
Were you exposed to a lot of that as a kid? I think you mentioned to me in kind of your CV that theater was somewhat of a jumping off point for you in your musical career.
I jumped on stage. They put me on a show when I was like 2 or 3, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh, yeah?
And I really loved it. And it was like a rock opera. It's really cool. So I liked the performing aspect. And that's where I got my start. But once I was introduced to like real music, I was like, okay.
And were your parents kind of friends with the art crowd? I mean, we've had family friends who were in the theater, and those are always the best parties to go to.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Bunch of good times. Yeah. Bunch of good people.
What about your dad?
My dad has kind of done a lot of different things, but his main musical thing was a cappella. He did a lot
Really?
of touring. Yeah.
Oh.
He was in like a cappella collegiate stuff, and then did a lot of touring and cruise stuff and arranging. Yeah.
So in school, besides theater, what were you into? Were you into music then? Were you sports, academic? What was your bag back then?
I would say it was sports for a while until I got to high school, and then when I started playing guitar, going 8th grade freshman year, I went to my first concert at like 6th and 7th grade. So you can see
What was that?
First concert, Metallica.
Nice.
Yeah, Metallica, Deftones,
Oh my God.
Vane, Limp Bizkit, and Linkin Park. My dad brought me. It was a total surprise.
Wow. Wow. What a show to have be your first concert.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So I'm trying to think, that would have been like a Load or a Reload era Metallica, wouldn't it?
It was like Saint Anger. It was like right when they were doing Saint Anger, Summer Sanitarium.
They were buying
tour.
their way back into heavier music from kind of more mainstream rock.
Yeah.
How was that show? Was it nuts?
It was crazy. It was insane. It was like just being thrown into the pool of that world. I mean, there was just the music was crazy loud. There was so packed. Like the people that were nuts.
This was up in Jersey?
This was actually in Florida. This was
okay.
right before I moved. And it was in Orlando. I think at the Citrus Bowl.
Arena. Yeah.
And it was crazy. People were taking their shirts off, getting naked. You know,
I'm impressed anybody came wearing shirts.
Right,
To even have them
exactly.
take them off. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I'll hand it to him for that. So that led you to go seek out a guitar?
Yeah, that, and I had a couple friends. I had like my neighbor was kind of getting a guitar. So
Was it an Ibanez?
No, I got my first. I actually got a bass before anything, and I was
Yeah. I had my first was a bass too.
Yeah.
I had like a knockoff P bass type of situation.
Love a good P bass.
But the Ibanezes seem to be the gateway drug for most people. It's either the acoustic that their dad had laying around, or they went and they bought a bright yellow Ibanez. You know,
I will say I'm guilty of having my dad's acoustic in my house. That's for sure. My first actual guitar was like an acoustic, a Carlo Rebelli cheap acoustic, but yeah, it was what I needed to get me hooked.
and has it been just full speed since then? I mean, have you always been working on it?
Yeah, pretty much. I got my guitar started. My uncle plays guitar. He's like the guy who's like most like me in the music and really got me into songwriting. And then I went to like a local bookstore. I just kind of heard about it one day. When I first moved to Jersey, trying to find people, and it was like a folk show. And they were, I remember hearing them and hearing the lyrics and hearing the band. And I was like, oh, these guys are all from here. That's what I want. I went home that day and wrote my first song.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Self-taught or lessons or?
Self-taught. I like just actually recently started taking lessons because I was teaching them.
Right.
I started giving them. I was like, you know what?
I should probably know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of the way. I mean, you listen to all these huge. You have a Foo Fighters shirt on, and I was watching the documentary. He's like, I can't read music. I can't, any of this other stuff. It's like, yeah, but you can make $1 squillion. Right. And have all the best-selling rock out. So. It's not necessary to be able to play, but to be able to teach, obviously, you've got to kind of understand what you're communicating to your students. Now you mentioned your dad was into a cappella and your mom theater. Was there music in the house? Did they have a record player going, a radio going, a tape?
Yeah, my definitely. My parents were split, so I was mainly with my mom, but she always had. She introduced me to it was definitely car rides, but I think were the spot where the music was jamming, or cleaning days. But like Cranberries were big, Sublime was big, lots of classic rock. Cause she definitely started showing me Ozzy and Zeppelin, and that was like, whoa.
I love your mom, man. A theater mom playing you Ozzy and Zeppelin at home. That's pretty rad.
Yeah. I remember vividly we were watching Little Nicky sitting on the couch, and they were, Ozzy's in that. He's a lot of part of that. And she's like, man, Ozzy's got great music. You should actually check him out. And I was like, Ozzy Osbourne. And then that was it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what prompted you to move to Florida?
My mom started moving when I graduated, and my mom started moving back. My grandparents were dying, basically. My grandfather died, and she came back, and then my grandma was sick, so we all just kind of started coming down here. Okay.
Yeah. And did you go to school down here, or just find work, or when you landed here, what did you do?
Got here in Tampa. I enrolled in HCC.
Okay.
Was studying psychology. I was working in the rehabilitation scene at another place called HCC, ironically, Healthcare Connection. So I was in school for that, but I think I was a little lost at that point. I wasn't
as is your right in your 20s. I mean,
I wasn't really playing music. I was kind of trying to get my shit together a little bit.
Yeah.
I was okay if we curse.
Of course.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Trying to get my shit together a bit, and I was in school I was I think I entered pre-med even.
Yeah.
And I was just searching anywhere for something, and I was miserable. And then I ended up that's what kind of drove me back into the music. I was like, let me take 1 year. I'd been in school for a while, really stretching it out. And I was like, let me just put everything I have into music for 1 year out here and just see what happens.
And what did that look like, putting everything you had into music?
Putting a band together, just going to shows.
And
really
what was
networking.
that band?
That band ended up it never existed, really. The first one never existed.
Okay. Well, I have one that doesn't exist, but I had the best band name ever, the Fuck Hammocks, but they don't exist. I mean, there's members to it. We've just never practiced. They've written 2 songs. I'm just kind of involved in name only, but no, I completely get that. Yeah. So
the unnamed band was Born Savage, which wasn't a super cool name.
But. That's okay. But after that was kind of the first real band that you put together, right?
Yeah.
That's the one that you mentioned to me off air.
New Fang.
Right.
Yeah, New Fang. We put that together through.
That reminds me of, what's the Red Fang, who's very much in the desert rock,
love them.
Queens of the Stone Age, that sort of thing. So that kind of sent me down that path.
Well, we got that funny because we got New Fang as a Them Crooked Vulture song.
Right. Yeah.
That's where I got it from. That I met musicians through, just being in studios. I kind of was doing that for a long time. And we were kind of like a power pop, I met up with this really great blues guitarist. He plays in a band called Viewers Like You out here.
Viewers Like You?
Yeah, Viewers Like You. And he was a real great blues guitarist and great writer. And I had kind of this alt rock grunge sound, and we tried to meld it together. And it was a good time, man. Live shows, we were crazy. We loved to just get crazy.
Where would you play?
First show was at the Benz. Played Red Star Rock Bar, Crowbar, got to play Gasparilla Music Fest was our last show. Just pretty much all around.
So why did that break up?
writing differences, and then it like the quarantine too kind of just took all the steam out of it.
Oh, so this was recent.
Yeah, this was.
So you just played at the past Gaz. That was the last concert I went to.
Right, that was the last concert I went to.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, until the Crowbar one the other day. But yeah, it was. That last one, and then writing differences. We just kind of wanted to go in different directions.
Did you put any albums out? Is there anything on streaming on Bandcamp or Spotify or anything?
No, we on the streaming stuff where we got singles. We have 4 or 5 singles,
Okay.
and the first thing I put out with Pandapaws and the other singer on his project, they were both co-written with Fang. So technically,
right,
it's all in the family.
So let's talk about Pandapaws. So this is your current venture, right?
Yeah.
And is it a solo, or do you have a band put together behind it, or
it's just me, and I'll bring people on for the shows and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is the direction that you kind of were wanting to go with New Fang. Would that be a fair statement?
Probably even a little, but probably even more a little different. Definitely a lot of growth, but I was just a, rabid writer, and I started looking around. I was like, man, I have like 2 albums worth of music and probably different tastes than most of the people I was playing with. So
right. Now, do you write all the instrument parts too, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are we doing? You got the bass. Are you doing like a electronic drum set, or do you have a real drum set going, or? So
for the studio stuff, like we wrote the parts. I'm working with Jordan Esker out here. He's producing the album. He's great. Part of the band, Jordan Esker and the 100%. So he helped me write some of the stuff, but primarily I had everything kind of already demoed out, and I would just hire people to come play the parts.
Right.
Just random musicians that I've met through Tampa.
And do you have an ETA on when that might be coming out?
First single's going to drop in January.
Okay.
And then the full album, we're going to drop singles I'm going to drop singles. I'm still adjusting to not being in a band.
Yeah.
I'll drop singles throughout the year, but probably maybe like summer or fall, the whole album will be out in 2021.
Do you anticipate a vinyl release, or will it be electronic tapes? What are we looking for?
It'll definitely be, one thing I'm doing is making sure that my music it'll be on all streaming sites, but I always make all my music free for everybody.
Sure.
So that it'll be on my website for people just to download. But I think I'm going to have a couple of packages together, merch packages with vinyl if people are really into it, and get some cool art with it.
And what's the sound of Pandapaws like, if you could?
I have a little reference post I put on Spotify that has kind of like, if people want to get a feel for it, but very kind of Wilco, like Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, OK Computer, Radiohead.
Kind of spacey, folky, little, esoteric.
Beatles, but with a little bit of that. I definitely don't abandon the Nirvana vibes, and I have definitely an alt 90s rock kind of influence.
Sensibility,
kind of meets somewhere in the middle.
And is that the type of stuff that you're listening to right now, or do you have anybody that you're kind of stuck on right now?
Yeah,
I go through these stages, like, I'll all of a sudden like get stuck on Tom Petty, and I'll just listen to that forever, and then I'll get into like death metal, and I'm listening to this or whatever. And right recently, I've had this idea of working on a book with Elliot Mayo, who sings for Vacancy and Wreath, of doing 30 years of Florida hardcore. Nice. So I've been researching in all my abundant spare time between work, this podcast, my children, my wife, and everything else. But I'm self-teaching myself about North, Central, and South Florida hardcore, broken up by decades. And it's interesting. I didn't realize before I kind of ventured down that road what a deep roster of bands there were. So in any event, so I don't even think I let you answer your question, which is a problem I have. I kind of go off on tangents. But so who is it that you're listening to a lot these days? Like you,
kind of my life is kind of usually guiding my musical endeavors, and right now I'm doing the audiobook, Jeff Tweedy's audiobook.
Oh yeah,
How to Write One Song. Right. So I'm of course diving into Summer Teeth and things like that.
Do you have a favorite Wilco album?
Yankee Hotel Foxtrot.
Really?
Oh, for sure.
Mine is A Ghost Is Born. And I love Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, but for some reason A Ghost Is Born just got it took everything that they started on Yankee Hotel Foxtrot and then it just got way trippier. I mean, it all sounded like they were coming off of heroin on that album, but I kind of dug that about it.
Yeah.
But no, I love it. Have you seen them live?
No, I have not. Wilco was a band that was interested to me in high school, and I always knew I liked, but it wasn't really until the past couple years that I was really like, okay, I'm diving in. I tracked down this old song that my high school English teacher showed me. And it ended up being off of Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. Right. And I was like, oh man, this whole band.
Have you seen the documentary?
No, I haven't.
You got it. That's basically the recording of that album.
Yeah.
I'm Trying to Break Your Heart, I think is the name of the documentary.
Oh wait, is it? Did we watch that? Oh, I definitely remember like hitting it on the streaming thing. Like
you got to find, it's really good because it's the other part that's very interesting about that documentary is it's kind of the dividing point between old Wilco and new Wilco, because except for like Starrett and I think the drummer, pretty much everybody on those albums back are not on the albums moving forward. And then once you bring in Nels Cline, who is the guitarist on all the albums, I think. What's the one that's got Impossible Germany on it?
I can't think off the top of my head.
Yeah, I've always anyway. Yeah. Nels Cline is an insane guitarist. So I've seen them live 3 times. I saw them play with Bob Dylan and My Morning Jacket and at the amphitheater. Then I saw them at Ruth Eckerd Hall and I saw them at the Strass Theater. And by the way, if you ever want to go to one of the shows, no offense to you, but if you get a single ticket, you can, this is a trick that I've learned, and maybe I'm late to the game on this, but single tickets are the way to go because there's always a party with an odd number of people really close to the stage. Right. And there's that one seat that no one, people always buy it in grouping. So I figured out a few years ago, the one seat trick gets you right up there. And it's kind of cool too, because I don't know if you're like me, but if I have to worry about someone else enjoying themselves, I can't enjoy myself as much.
Yes.
And it bums me out. I saw Tweedy over here at Tampa Theater right around the same time Iron and Wine was there. And my background is heavier music. Like I like really loud music. So most of the shows that I go to, you could have someone screaming in my ear and I wouldn't have any idea about it. But when I saw Tweedy and Iron and Wine at Tampa Theater, they're so quiet and everybody's screaming, and it's, unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunate or not, but it seemed as though it's a very yuppie crowd. It's a bunch of doctors and lawyers. And, I mean, and but they're all drinking a little bit too much and they're kind of too loud and they don't know how to conduct themselves. And as good as the shows were, the crowd just bummed me out big time. So anyway, but no, Tweedy and Wilco and that whole thing. Now, do you go off into the tangents with like Sunvolt and
I don't even know what Sunvolt.
So Sunvolt was Jay Farrar, who was Tweedy's partner in Uncle Tupelo. So Uncle Tupelo is kind of the jumping off point for alt country, and it was much like your old band. Jay Farrar and Jeff Tweedy kind of were going in different directions. Tweedy forms Wilco, Farrar does Sunvolt, and now with Tweedy, he's got Golden Smog, and there's a couple other things. So he kind of branches out from there. But yeah, you can spend a decade just going down those paths.
It's like I spent like a lot of these past years diving down that. You can do that same kind of thing with Hami and all the projects that he's part of. Yeah. And so I feel like I've just kind of got that little map of people out, and now I have to start diving into this next Wilco section.
That's what's so amazing about music, isn't it? That you can just like, it's almost like a riddle or a mystery. It's like, okay, who are their influences?
Exactly.
And then who is, and you start to figure things out, and you connect the dots. And nothing brings me from a hobby or perspective as much enjoyment as figuring out all these little trivial connections between everybody. Yeah. So aside from Pandapaws, you also have a podcast, correct?
Right. Well, it's actually I created just to basically help promote Pandapaws and really talk and just meet other artists.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with the process of creation and songwriting, especially. Like songwriting is something I really study and trying to learn a lot about, which is why I went down that path of learning Hami's influences and found people like Fear and GBH and stuff, like, because I wanted to learn how they drew from that. And I got the idea, well, it'd be really cool to see how other artists of totally different mediums, is their process similar? What's the difference? And so that really kind of sparked everything.
And we met each other through our mutual friend, Michael Sinclair, who produces this show. I met Mike through Achilles. I don't know if you know Enter Domestico. He's Achilles and Blade of Sir. So that's Michael does all of the videos for him and does all of the production work on like the photography and logos and stuff for his album. But yeah, no, I very much in the same way that you're describing, this podcast has become a vehicle for me very selfishly to meet amazing people, learn their process, just kind of understand, and just to be able to talk about art and music is a gift, I think. So are you still recording episodes of that?
Yeah, we're recording episodes. I have because I've been focusing on the album a lot lately. I was doing like one episode a week, and now I've kind of trimmed to one every 2 weeks. But we just dropped we did a special video episode with Tom DeGeorge of Crowbar. So that we were spending a little bit of time on that. But yeah, we still have episodes coming.
Has the COVID deal helped your writing, hurt your writing? I mean, obviously a lot of people have more time on their hands, and then just from kind of a world view sociologically, it seems like there's a surplus of material to write songs about, whether it's politics or death or, whatever you want. I mean, it seems like kind of in a weird way we're having our Vietnam or our, between Black Lives Matter and all the stuff that's happening there, COVID. I mean, it's kind of feeling like another period where, art can maybe save the day. So, So have you been writing a lot based on that, or?
Yeah, it's, I can definitely, I definitely share that same feeling. But in the beginning, I will say it was, overall, I would say it did help my writing. In the beginning, I used it really as a time to study and get really, really good at music theory. And I was teaching full time. That helped a lot.
Where were you teaching?
School of Rock.
Okay. Right over there on
South Tampa.
Yeah.
But so I was doing a lot of that remote, but I got drained at some point. It was just my reset, the way I recharge, and I have to do this if I'm going to write, is I go to concerts and I go to shows, and I'm very much an introvert. I get drained by being around a lot of people. Because
you're an only child.
Right.
I can tell you, I thank you 100%. Other people take from my energy. They don't add to my energy. But concerts is the anomaly where I'm around a bunch of people, but I'm alone. So this gets back to that solo ticket deal.
Yeah.
So, but no, I trust me, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on therapy to learn why being an only child makes you somewhat of an introverted, recluse. But in any event, so not having the concerts to kind of recharge your batteries, you get burnt out. Yeah,
that was, and you tie that in with, like you said, all the kind of the social climate of everything, and it was draining. I definitely, compared to the music I was writing on this album, I have about probably 50% on the next album done,
awesome.
And it's so much more. I can feel the anger and the angst and all of it. I think a lot about like Songs for the Deaf and Nevermind. It's just going for that.
Right. I
was just angry and I wanted to get loud about it. So that's where it led me. But ultimately, I started getting drained.
That's badass. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
So do you have any shows booked, or you haven't played yet, have you? I know that some places are like Tom's kind of come up with a socially responsible schedule of people to play. But then, looking at the numbers, I was supposed to host a show on the 12th, which we ended up deciding we're going to reschedule. Part of the reason why is most of those bands were heavier, harder music. And I was like, I don't know how you have people stand 6 feet apart at a punk show. That's a tough, that's a tough. Yeah. So I was like, maybe it's better if we just hold off on it. But so where are you planning on playing?
I do have one show booked, but it's at Ella's, which, they're doing also another on that responsible list, doing a great job. I have it marked for December 4th. But the numbers are rising really high. I'm kind of playing it by ear. I've actually been doing a lot of thinking about, should I even go through with it? You got people, like one of the musicians involved is like, well, we got a text saying, oh man, I'm starting to feel sick a little bit. And now we're like, what we want to, my goal 100% is to be responsible. I just want to make sure I make the right call on that. So I'm definitely doing a lot of thinking about it, but as of now, it is still good to go. But
have you considered doing any kind of like a streaming type situation?
Like maybe I don't have the functionality really to do it at my own place, especially since everything's locked down. Every bit of my music gear, drum sets, and everything is just taken over my house basically.
Yeah.
I would, I've definitely like looked at kind of how other people are doing it, like going on what is it, Katie Talbert's thing, the downtown St. Pete.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right.
I would definitely do.
I mean, it's definitely not a live show, but a couple weeks ago, Halloween, Mr. Bungle put out their live show the night they came home. And I mean, it wasn't a live show, but it did kind of do my heart some good to watch them playing it live. And then they had Hami was on there and Buzz Osborne from the Melvins.
Nice.
And they had these little comedic interludes where people would pop in between Eric Andre and all these different people. And I really enjoyed that, and then their finale, they did a Van Halen cover, which was pretty badass.
That's sick.
So I was like, it's not live, but this will hold me over, a little bit longer. But, I know that, Achilles and Beowulf just played at Tom's, and then Have Gun Will Travel did a show there. I think a couple weeks before that.
I was bummed I missed that. I'm dying to see them.
Yeah, well, I had Scott Anderson in here. What a great guy. And that whole band, I'm trying to get Will Quinlan in, but he's elusive. Like, I think I have to sell myself. There's certain people I have to sell myself to a little bit more than others, but I'll get there in any event. But the not having live music has been I had forgotten about Gasparilla for a while, and I was like, I haven't been to one this year, but that was I remember going to that and thinking, I wonder if they're going to shut this down. I wonder if this is a smart move. Like, it was already kind of sinking in at that time, what was about to happen.
Cliff. Yeah.
All right. Well, are you supporting yourself on music financially, or are you working a day job on top of teaching? Or
I also do. I also do marketing.
Right.
Digital marketing. So that's kind of the other.
Do you do that from home, or?
Yeah, I do it from home.
And is it your business, or are you working for somebody else, or how does that work?
My own business. Yeah.
And who are your clients? Are they kind of all over the map, or do you appeal to a certain type of market?
I started with permanent makeup. My mom, besides the theater, she also is a really good permanent makeup artist. And she didn't know anything about that. And so between trying to help her and then being a musician and just trying to learn how to market, I've kind of have this weird beauty salon, and then also like people in bands, people in musicians, and studios, lots of studios. Definitely. Studios is probably actually the most.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many good ones around here now. I mean, Sean Kyle's got his place. Scott Anderson from How Gun Will Travel's got one. Owen Meets from who was in the Holy Terror. He kind of produced, I never realized. And then Dan Byers, who's the bass player for Wolfface, he's got a great studio over in St. Pete. He records a lot of stuff with Troy Saunders from Mastodon. And I didn't realize what a rich studio production environment there is here locally.
Yeah.
Before I started the show, I was like, well, I know Morrisound's here because that's where all the death metals came from. But, literally, like all these bands, almost that's kind of the thing is your day job is kind of doing production and whatever. So that's cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, I get you the kind of duality of the beauty and the music, because that's kind of how I am here with, law and this. So you kind of got to flip a switch and it's like, okay, I'm going to be this guy today. Okay, I'm going to be that guy today.
It's kind of cool though, kind of like diving into, like how you're talking about diving into genres. That's something about marketing, a little nerdy that I like though. It's like when you look at one business, you really have to start understanding their audience and that whole, it's almost like a whole culture, you get to see like what keeps these people up at night, what is their goals, like, and then you get to take all of that and then switch it to like music people and really study that. And it's like, I don't know, I found it really interesting, maybe drawing from an interest of psychology and sociology, but
so long term, or is the push to have play live, record, and is that where this is all?
Yeah, definitely, and it'd be great to. I'm actually getting ready in the spring. We're moving back to New Jersey.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, obviously, if the world's still intact,
isn't a smoking cinder? Yeah.
Right, but yeah, trying to get close. That's another kind of.
What's
reason
the scene like up there?
Good. I mean, good. It was Jersey has, always had a very rich musical scene. When I was growing up, I was in the hardcore kind of and punk scene. A lot of bands like the Mongoloids, and you have like Boston right there and New York right there. So
Tim Ogden?
Converge. Tim Ogden?
Yeah, he was in here the other day. He's like a catalog of Boston hardcore. He was an interesting person to talk to about all that. How close is it to being able to get to New York City?
From where I was?
Yeah.
Oh, 40 minutes, 30, 40 minutes.
So you can go play in the city too.
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing. I'm just trying to, I was looking at Seattle actually first, but it's just little too politically charged over there, and I have a little more ins on the New York and New Jersey side of things. And I wanted to be closer to that city, and hopefully, even if I, pursuing the music stuff, I would love to end up being a producer or a songwriter, if that kind of avenue doesn't
Where do you think your talents lie? Is it lyrics? Is it the music itself? Is it like what's your strengths, would you say? Melody
and lyrics. Like I definitely start everything acoustic guitar and vocals and build out from there. But yeah, I can writing for sure. I can pump them out. I can take situations and translate them into a melodic and kind of poetic form.
Right. Do you carry around a notebook and put lyrics in there? Or you just keep them in your head or put them on your phone?
Phone, voice memo. I'm definitely a heavy voice memo guy. You'll just have, and I'll go through them too, and just random, literally, doo-ba-doo, doo-ba-doo. Like, what is this? And you have to kind of remember what it is. But yeah, the voice memo guy for sure.
That's funny. Now, you brought somebody here with you.
Yes, my fantastic fiance / basically manager.
What's your name?
Hello, I am Brittany.
Hi, Brittany. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, babysitting him.
Of course.
Making sure we didn't get into trouble in here. Now, are you from New Jersey too, or?
I'm actually originally from Michigan.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Michigan, they've been in the news lately. That's an interesting town. So moving to New Jersey is not going to be too big of a culture shock for you.
No, and at least it's not as cold as Michigan is.
Yeah. It's kind of gets brutal there with the lake effect. The thing with New Jersey, I went up there for a wedding a couple years ago, and I only knew like Atlantic City. Like if it wasn't, some mob movie, I had no idea, but I didn't realize how gorgeous New Jersey, just the rural pasture, just gorgeous countryside there is there. I mean, it's very different from the perception that, Hollywood gives you of New Jersey.
Yeah, they love to just show off, the brick city, the cement, all of the cement. And I will drop this fact every single time, which makes funny, but more farmers markets than anywhere else in America.
Really?
The Garden State.
I mean.
More well known by our usual name, the Armpit of America. But come on, we got to give some credit. There's beauty
if
there.
New Jersey's the armpit of America. I don't know what Florida is, but you can kind of draw your own conclusions. Well, thank you guys so much for coming by today. This was awesome. I love your podcast. I love the concept behind it. I think it's great. I mean, I really think that Tampa and the Tampa Bay area, although we're going to be losing you to the armpit of America, has a rich art scene. And I've, been really loving getting to know it better. And I'm really stoked to hear your music. Not to put you on the spot, but I do have an acoustic guitar here.
Yeah, I can do a little ditty.
All right. It hasn't been tuned since Jeremy Gloff played it, so I'm going to blame it on him if it's out. You can tune it real quick.
Sure. Well, of course, because I'm wearing.
All right. Manager, what should he play?
All right, so I just put this song. This is a song I put out on Halloween. It's a shorter one, but it is definitely, it's impactful. It's about very fitting because we're just talking about like Wilco and Radiohead. Definitely, it's all about existential dread. And,
I'm down with existential dread, sure.
And being in the pandemic, I had this song for a long time, and it wasn't complete, but this was, I think, like maybe the best situation to try and finish this one off. I think it's pretty fitting. So it's called L'appel du vide, which is call from the void in French. The call from the void is like this kind of, it's this little term that they have when you have those weird dark thoughts or heavy existential dread that just creep into your mind and no one knows where it's from, and that's a little thing that came up for it. So L'appel du vide.
Love it.
In the back of our head, we're all thinking about if we got another day or so. We've all got a deadline, we've all got another place to go. It scares the fathers, it scares the wives. No use of fighting, 'cause time's gonna get you, your time's gonna get you too. Just lay me down on a simple sheet. That's the type of man I am. Who did you think I was? Someone looking for something grand. It's all the same to me. We all end up weeds. No use of trying, 'cause arm's gonna get you, your time's gonna get you too. When we go, is it somewhere that we dreamed of? With family and friends, not a thing to bring us down. Would I be made a fool? 'Cause death is dark and it's coming home for you.
Wow, that was badass, and it's very much can hear the Greenwood brothers in there and Wilco in there. But man, your voice, that was awesome. Really, you know, not to be condescending, but I'm really amazed. That was badass.
Thanks, man.
So is that what we can expect from the Pandapaws album? That sort of deal?
That one's a little unique, but I think the emotional.
Well, the talent. If that's the talent that's there, that's fucking on point. I love that. That was badass. I'm really impressed.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you so much for playing. It was very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I wish you guys the best of luck up in New Jersey, and hopefully you make it back down to
for sure.
to the junk of the United States to tour and play.
The taint, if you will.
The taint, yeah, the taint of the United States. Wow, I'm really impressed. That was awesome. Thank you,
man.
guys.
Thanks for having me.
All right.